In this video we are going to learn how to set up server for our socket.io, and for that go to pages, go to API and select socket.js file that we have created. Inside it import server from socket.io, then create a handler by using export default function server handler. This will have two parameters, one is request and one is response. And inside this function we are going to check if response.socket.server.io, if it exists, means that we have already initialized the socket server. And for now we'll simply be logging it, so we can simply write socket is already running. And in else case, if it's not initialized, we will initialize it by creating new server. Let's create a constant io and create a new server for our response.socket.server, and then we will assign the socket to our server response. Okay, so once this is done, we'll listen to the onConnect event of the socket.io, which is on connection. When the client connects to the server, we will receive a socket. So let's check it, and for now we will simply be logging it that the socket is now connected. So once we have set up our socket.io, simply return a response by using response.end. We're going to learn how to set up socket.io for our client side. So go to pages and go to index.js, which is the main page for application. Remove the head, we are not going to use it for now. For simplicity of the code, let's remove this for now. And we'll also remove the home module.css file, and we'll also delete it from the styles folder. So we have a clean code right now. And let's also remove the test for now, since we have already tested our application. One thing we are missing is that inside our underscore app.js, we need to mention viewport for our bootstrap. So let's do that. But first, importing head from next head. Import head from next/head, and then go to return, and then use a fragment. If you don't know about fragment, it is used to encapsulate more than one component. React and Next.js, we are having fragments as a higher order component, which doesn't returns any div or any other element. It's just a container or a placeholder which can encapsulate our child components. So let's do that by either using fragment in this way, or we can simply use a shortcut method that I mostly prefer and would be using in this course, that is using angular brackets and then closing it. So inside this, go to head and then close the head, and here write a meta tag, and inside this meta tag enter name is equals to viewport, enter the content is equals to width is equals to device width, comma initial scale is equals to 1. With this we are almost set. And now let's go to our previous step that we were doing, that is to set up the client side for our socket.io. Let's close this file and go back to our index.js file. Over here, let's import io from socket.io client. So once we have our io, let's go inside a function and create a constant function, that is socket initialization, and name it socket initializer. Let's fix the spelling. And this would be a asynchronous function, and let's write async for it. And use ES6 arrow operator in order to create this function. And inside this function, what we'll be doing is we'll be calling the fetch to send our request to our API, And let's now create a socket instance for our client side by using socket is equals to IO and call the constructor. And once this is done, let's create a use effect to handle our initialization. Now go inside this function and call our socket initializer. Also confirm if you have use effect imported from React. If it's not, just use import use effect from React and then it will import the use effect. Now once this is done, let's format our code for the indentation and save it. Let's now stop our server, clear the console and start the application once again to see if our application is running successfully. Now let's go to a browser. Before that, we have a minor error, that is we are using styles in our main element and we can remove that also for now. So let's remove that and simply use a placeholder, that is h1, and write test inside it and save it. So this must run our application successfully. Now let's go to our browser and you can already see that our socket is already running and our socket is connected from our client side to our server. And let's confirm that on browser. So we have one more issue, that is we have not created the socket as a variable or a reference. So let's do that first by going to our index.js file and let's create a socket.io variable, that's socket, let is socket, and then that's it. So with that, let's check our browser once again. So application is running successfully and let's see what are the logs that we see on the server. So we have a socket connected and with that we are already up for our client and server. And let's now begin with the next step, that is to create a user for our chat application and then we'll proceed with the further UI creation for this application.